He is the safe option. Like Oatmeal. The microphone didn't screech, but it might as well have. The silence that followed Emma's slur-filled speech was so loud it physically hurt my ears. I was sitting there, gripping the stem of my wine glass so hard I thought it would snap and slice my hand open. I actually hoped it would. The physical pain would have been better than watching my fiancée, the woman I was supposed to marry in 48 hours, sway drunkenly in her $5,000 dress and tell 70 of our closest friends and family that I was basically a consolation prize. "No, listen," Emma giggled, leaning heavily on her maid of honor's shoulder. She pointed a manicured finger at me. "Braden. God, Braden was a firework. He burned me, sure. But Steve is sturdy. He's the guy you call when you have a flat tire. You don't fantasize about the guy who fixes the tire, but you need him, right?" Her father, Robert, let out a booming, uncomfortable laugh from the head table. "To stability!" he roared, raising his glass, trying to salvage the train wreck happening in the center of the room. My mother, sitting next to me, had gone completely pale. She looked like she was about to vomit. My dad was staring at his plate, his jaw working furiously, a muscle popping in his cheek. That was the breaker. Seeing my dad, a man who worked 60-hour weeks in a machine shop to put me through college look that humiliated, I stood up. The chair scraped violently against the hardwood floor. Screech. Emma blinked, looking at me with glassy, unfocused eyes. "Steve, babe, I'm complimenting you. Sit down." "A flat tire?" I asked. My voice wasn't loud. It was deadly quiet. "I'm the guy you call for a flat tire? It's a metaphor, silly." She rolled her eyes, stumbling a bit. "God, you're always so literal. This is what I mean, everyone. No drama, just Steve." I looked around the room. I saw the pity in her friend's eyes. I saw the smug satisfaction on her mother's face. Linda never liked me, thought I was blue-collar despite my engineering degree. And I saw Emma. Really saw her. She wasn't just drunk. She was honest. "You know what, Emma?" I said, and my voice finally rose, cutting through the murmurs. "You're right. I am the guy who fixes things, and I think I finally figured out how to fix this." "Fix what?" She looked confused. "This mistake," I said. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the keys to the apartment I paid for, and tossed them onto the white tablecloth. They landed with a heavy thud next to her half-eaten lobster. "Braden can fix your next flat tire. I hear he's out on parole, so he should have plenty of free time." The room gasped, a collective sharp intake of breath. "Steve!" Her dad stood up, his face turning purple. "Sit down and stop making a scene." "I'm not making a scene, Robert," I snapped, turning on him. "I'm making an exit. Mom, Dad, Brad, let's go." "You can't leave!" Emma shrieked, the reality finally piercing her wine fog. "The wedding is on Saturday. Everything is paid for." I looked at her one last time. "Not anymore." I turned my back on her. I walked out. I didn't run. I walked. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a sledgehammer. My vision was tunneling, but I walked straight to the double doors of the country club. "Steve!" I pushed the doors open and hit the humid night air. "Oh my God!" Brad exhaled, stumbling out right behind me. He looked terrified and exhilarated at the same time. "Dude, did that just happen?" "Car," I said, my hands shaking so bad I couldn't get my keys out. "Brad, drive my truck. I can't." My parents came out a second later. My mom was crying silently. My dad looked like he wanted to go back inside and throw punches. "Steve, son," Dad started, putting a heavy hand on my shoulder. "Not now, Dad," I choked out. I need to get out of here before I burn this place down." We piled into my truck. Brad took the wheel. As we peeled out of the gravel driveway, I saw Emma stumbling out the front door, barefoot, screaming my name. I didn't look back. The first hour, scorched earth. We went to my parents' house. It was safer. If I went to my apartment, she'd follow me. She had a key. "Whiskey," my dad said, marching to the cabinet the second we walked in. He poured me a glass that was basically a triple. "Drink. Now." I downed it. It burned, but it grounded me. "Okay," I said, slamming the glass down on the coaster. "Brad, give me my laptop." "Steve, maybe sleep on it?" Brad asked, looking worried. "It's a lot of money. Maybe she was just nervous?" "She called me Oatmeal, Brad. She compared me to her felon ex-boyfriend in front of my grandmother," I yelled. I wasn't mad at Brad. I was vibrating with rage. I am not marrying someone who thinks settling for me is a sacrifice. Open the spreadsheet. We had a shared Google sheet for the wedding expenses. I built it. I managed it. "Venue," I said, typing furiously. "Who signed the contract?" Her dad, Brad said, looking over my shoulder. Good. He can eat the $20,000 cancellation fee. Catering? Her mom? Excellent. Florist? You, Brad winced. Call them. Leave a voicemail. Tell them the wedding is off due to... Tell them unforeseen infidelity of the heart. No, just tell them it's canceled. My phone started buzzing on the table. Emma, 4 missed calls. Emma, baby, please pick up. Emma, you are being psychotic right now. Emma, it was a joke. Robert, 2 missed calls. Linda, you selfish little prick. Answer the phone. I stared at the screen. Psychotic? I laughed. It sounded manic. I'm psychotic? Don't answer, my mom warned from the kitchen. She was making sandwiches, her way of dealing with crisis. Don't you say a word to them tonight, Stephen. Anything you say they will twist. She was right. I picked up the phone, took a screenshot of the texts. Lawyer instinct? My cousin is a paralegal, and she drilled this into me. And then blocked the numbers. Emma, blocked. Robert, blocked. Linda, blocked. Her sister, Qley, blocked. Bank, I said next. Brad, it's 9 p.m. Can I freeze the joint account from the app? I think so. Transfer your share out first. We had a wedding and house fund. I had put in $45,000 over the last 3 years, scrimping, saving, over time. She had put in maybe $5,000. I logged in. My hands were sweating so much the fingerprint scanner wouldn't work. I had to type the passcode. Transfer, $45,000 to Stephen Personal checking. Status, pending. Do it, I whispered. Click. Done, I exhaled, collapsing back into the sofa. I just drained the account. She's going to get a notification in about 2 seconds. Dude, Brad said, checking his own phone. Group chat is blowing up. People are asking if they should still come on Saturday. Tell them, I said, closing my eyes, that the groom was deemed too reliable and was recalled to the factory. I'm posting it, Brad said, his thumbs flying. Wedding is off, Steve is safe, party is canceled, Venmo refunds for the bachelor party are coming next week. Yasts. Day 2, the siege. I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling of my childhood bedroom, listening to the buzzing of my dad's old wall clock. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. The sneer, the laughter, Oatmeal. At 7 a.m., there was pounding on the front door, violent pounding. My dad was already up. I heard him open the door. Where is he? It was Robert. He sounded like a bulldog chewing on a wasp. He's not seeing you, Bob, my dad said. His voice was calm, dangerous. Get off my porch. He stole $40,000, Robert screamed. He drained the account. That is theft. I have the police on speed dial. I walked out into the hallway, wearing yesterday's wrinkled shirt. It's not theft if it's my money, Robert, I said, stepping up behind my dad. Robert looked redder than a beet. He was wearing a tracksuit, looking like a mobster from a bad movie. You embarrass my daughter? You leave her at the altar, and then you rob her? I took out exactly what I put in. I have the bank statements to prove it. The $5,000 left in there is hers. You can use it to pay for the therapy she obviously needs. You listen to me. Robert stepped forward, pointing a finger in my face. My dad stepped in between us, chest bumping him back. Back up, Dad growled. You step on my mat again, I'm calling the cops for trespassing. The wedding vendors are calling me, Robert shouted, spit flying. The venue says it's too late for a refund. That's $25,000 down the drain. Read the contract, Bob, I said, leaning against the doorframe, crossing my arms to hide the shaking. You signed the venue agreement because you wanted the prestige package I couldn't afford. Your signature, your liability. Have fun with that. He stared at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. He realized I was right. He had insisted on signing so he could control the menu. You are ruining her life, he hissed, his voice dropping to a venomous whisper. She hasn't stopped crying. She loves you. She loves having a doormat, I said. And the doormat just got up and walked away. Goodbye, Robert. My dad slammed the door in his face. We stood there in the hallway, breathing hard. Coffee? Mom asked from the kitchen. Please, I said. Day 3, the gaslighting Friday, the day before the non-wedding. I had to go to my apartment to get clothes. I knew it was a risk, so I took Brad and my cousin Mike, who is 6'4", and looks like he bends steel beams for fun. Sure enough, she was there. She wasn't inside. I had changed the locks digitally via the app the night of the fight, thank God for smart locks. She was sitting in the hallway, huddled against my door, looking like a tragic heroine in a movie. Steve, she whimpered when she saw me. She stood up, reaching for me. I stepped back. Mike crossed his arms and stood between us. "Steve, please, I can't get in. My stuff is in there." "I packed it," I said. "It's in boxes in the lobby. The doorman has them." You kick me out?" Her eyes went wide. "But we live here." "I live here, Emma. My name is on the lease. You never signed it because you didn't want the credit check to impact your score for the mortgage later, remember?" Everything she had done to protect herself financially was now biting her in the ass. It was poetic justice, but it didn't feel good. It just felt sad. "Steve, look at me," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "It was just a speech. I was nervous. I drank too much on an empty stomach. You know I get stupid when I'm nervous." "You compared me to Braden," I said, "to the guy who cheated on you with your sister's roommate." "I was trying to show the contrast," she wailed, "that you're better." "No, Emma, you called me the safe option. You settled, and last night, I realized I don't want to be settled for. I want to be wanted. I do want you. You want a wedding," I corrected. "You want the picture. You want the narrative where you tamed the bad boy phase and found a nice boring guy to pay the bills while you resent him for being boring." She froze. The accuracy hit her. "That's not true," she whispered, but her eyes looked away. "It is. And you know what? I'm boring. I like my job. I like my truck. I like watching football on Sundays. I'm not going to apologize for being stable anymore." I unlocked the door. "Mike, Brad, grab my suit. I'm not wearing it tomorrow, but I'm not leaving it here." "Steve, wait!" She grabbed my arm. I pulled away. "Don't, just go to the lobby, Emma. Get your boxes. Go to your parents. It's over." I went inside and shut the door. I heard her banging on it for 10 minutes. Then silence. The non-wedding day Saturday. 4 p.m. I should be saying "I do" right now. Instead, I was sitting on the tailgate of my truck, parked by the lake, eating a greasy burger with Brad. My phone was turned off. I had bought a burner phone for emergencies, but the main line was dead to me. "You know," Brad said, chewing thoughtfully, "you lost the deposits on the photographer and the DJ. That's like $4,000? 5, I corrected. And the honeymoon tickets were non-refundable, another 3. 8,000. Ouch. Cheaper than a divorce, I said, taking a sip of my Coke. And it was true. The knot in my stomach, the one that had been there for 6 months, the one I ignored every time she made a joke about my clothes or my friends was gone. I felt light. So, Brad bumped my shoulder. "What now?" "Now?" I looked out at the water. "I go to work on Monday. I finish the Peterson project, and I save up for a house I want, with a garage for my tools." "Sounds boring," Brad grinned. "Yeah," I smiled back, taking a huge bite of the burger. "Boring is underrated." Epilogue. 3 months later, I was at the hardware store, picking up drywall screws. "Steve?" I turned. It was Qley, Emma's sister. She looked awkward. Hey, Qley. I just wanted to say..." She shifted her weight. "You were right." "About what?" "About Braden." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh no. Yeah. She called him. The week after they went to Cabo for what was supposed to be your honeymoon." I felt a flash of anger, but it passed quickly. "Let me guess. He put it on her credit card?" Qley laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "Worse. He got arrested in Tijuana. She had to bail him out. Robert is furious. It's a whole thing." "Wow. She asks about you," Qley said quietly. "She says she made a mistake." I looked at the screws in my hand. Sharp, reliable. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. "She didn't make a mistake, Qley," I said, looking her in the eye. "She showed me who she was. It was the most honest thing she ever did." "So, no chance?" "Tell her I hope she finds what she's looking for. But I'm not the safety net anymore. The net is gone." I walked to the checkout counter. The cashier, a girl named Sarah with bright green streaks in her hair, smiled at me. "Hey, you're the guy who bought the industrial sander last week, right? Did that project turn out okay?" "Better than expected," I said, smiling back. It was a real smile. "It's finally smooth. Nice. Hey, weird question, but I get off at 6. Want to tell me about it over coffee? I'm trying to learn more about carpentry." I looked at her. She wasn't wearing a designer dress. She didn't look like she cared about country clubs. She looked interesting. "I'd love to," I said. "But fair warning, I can be pretty boring," she laughed. "Boring is just another word for solid, and this world needs more solid things." I paid for my screws. I walked out to my truck. The sun was shining. I had lost $8,000. I had lost a fiancé. I had lost the approval of a family that never really liked me. But as I started the engine, my reliable, oatmeal, boring engine, I realized I had won. I dodged a missile. And I was just fine.